I'd like to welcome Dan Oweiler here today, the president of Sterling Financial Advisors. And among the many things he does, he treats his clients really nice and has casino nights and things like that.
We have a few events.
Yeah, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it really is.
We had a group together.
So today we are talking about the cost of living adjustment, and I was
for Social Security.
For Social Security,
Right.
And I was surprised to learn that it's been a while since they've had one, right?
Well, any kind of significant
Yeah,
one. Yeah. It's been pretty bad since the Great Recession came in, and so the cost of living adjustments for Social Security hasn't been very good. Came in at 2.8% this last year, but that's because we're seeing a little bit of inflation coming back. But
yeah. Now, for the average income or average payment out for Social Security, it really now amounts to maybe about $40 or so.
Yeah, it's not much.
$40
I think I sent you a chart that's up on the screen, it was interesting as I started going back and analyzing.
Look back, the last half of the 70s.
That was when Jimmy Carter was in, you know, and we had the 16% CDs that we used to be able to get, and those types of things. So from 1975 for 8 years, you know, it was really a pretty good. I mean, one of them was over 14% cost of living increase. You know, but on average over the last 43 years, it's average of 3.8%. Okay, not real high, but if you take out those 8 years from 75 to 82, it's down to 2.8%.
Okay.
Last 10 years, it's 2.1%. So, you know, there was a kind of a anomaly in that from 75 to 82.
Yeah,
you know,
that was, man, anybody collecting it back then for about 7 years, 8 years, wow.
Yeah, the cost of living, and
of course, things were
fortunately for us, when it starts to go back down, it doesn't take away from you either.
Yes.
You know, so if you've gotten that inflation kick in and you're able to get higher Social Security, if we have no Social Security increase or cost of living, they don't drop it back down. You remain level.
Yeah.
So it's nice to get those bumps, but over the last few years, we haven't seen anything significant until, you know, 2.8% this last year.
So where does this come from? And what I'm getting at here, I look at 2015,
right,
where it was zero.
Right.
Well, we all know the reality that prices go up on everything, just about, maybe not electronics, but just about everything every year. So where do they get this?
Well, unfortunately, the people that are getting Social Security are 65 or 66 or older.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're taking the average family, not those that are retired, as their cost of living, and so they take it a bucket of goods and services and medical care and things like that. Well, people that are raising families and things don't have the same medical care that seniors do.
Yeah.
And so the cost of medical care continues to go up, where they're not really analyzing that for seniors. They're analyzing it for a younger family, that the normal, you know, middle class family that has a house and things like that for housing. But there's a bucket of goods and services that they utilize on a year-to-year basis. Okay.
And they don't go by state, do they?
No.
There's no adjustment for living here in Southern California versus living in the middle of
That would
Arkansas.
probably be a good idea, but I'm not sure Congress would go for that because it would cost them more. But obviously, the cost to live in California might be different than in the Midwest somewhere, where, you know, housing isn't as expensive, and maybe some of the gasoline prices isn't expensive, but at the same time, we're not using heating oil here like they do back in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So there's give and take, but it would be nice maybe to get different adjustments for those living in California. I'm not sure people would start moving to California to get a higher cost of living adjustment, but you know, they don't do that. They do it on a federal basis, not on a state basis.
I guess if you have the ability to do so, you could give yourself a raise by just moving out of California, and you're still getting the same amount of Social Security.
Well, believe it or not, I have a lot of clients who do that.
Yeah.
You know, they downsize, or they've got a home here that they bought for, $200,000 or $300,000, and it's now worth $700,000 or $800,000. They don't have a mortgage, so they end up selling, buying something for all cash in Arizona or Florida or someplace, and pocketing $350,000.
Yeah.
And so they're able to add to their basically standard of living by just downsizing or moving to a different state that isn't as expensive.
Right. Now that amount, the dollar amount I mentioned, which is $39 a month, but that's for the average person, or the average.
Correct.
They weight it. So, and that would be the average, at least according to what you gave me here, is about $1,461 a month. Now, obviously, you're going by percentage. So if somebody's earning more than less than that, that amount's going to vary.
And also that takes into account everybody that's on Social Security. Yeah. And so you have to recognize that some spouses who didn't work during their lifetimes and they relied on their husband to work, they're not getting the same benefit as somebody who did work. And so they take into account the average, which takes into non-working spouses and everything.
Yeah.
Well, for those people that are maximizing their Social Security contributions every year, which is about $126,000 this year.
Yeah.
So you're taxed on the first $126,000.
Okay.
After that, you're not taxed. You kind of maxed out, and so you don't do that. But somebody who has maxed out their contributions over the last 20, 30 years, when they retire, the benefit is about $2,650.
Okay.
Okay. If you wait till age 70, it goes up to about $3,400.
Yeah.
So planning for Social Security will depend upon what your cash flow is, whether or not you have other assets that you can offset that. And we've talked about this before, is that from 66 to age 70, your benefit increases 8% every year.
Right.
So that's a guaranteed return on your money, so to speak, of 8%, as long as you have other assets that you can utilize to do that.
Yeah.
I met with somebody yesterday. He says, well, I'm not even going to live 10 years. I have heart problems. Well, you should probably take the benefit now rather than waiting till age 70 then.
Yeah.
So the planning process and calculating Social Security, in our projections, we've been using a 1% cost of living adjustment for Social Security, when it's actually been 2.1% over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
We like to be a little bit more conservative in our projections, and so we've been using 1% when it's actually been about 2%.
And as you have said in the past, it all depends on the person. Maybe somebody, even when they reach 66 or whatever it might be, maybe they don't need the money, but they're thinking to themselves, I want to take it now because this is money that my child is going to college, or a grandchild or something. So this is money I can use for them or whatever they want to do.
The planning process can take into a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know, if they don't need the money and they start taking it, we can do some, we've talked about this sometimes before, where they may have some other retirement accounts or something, and we can utilize the money maybe to get a life insurance policy that helps pay the taxes for their beneficiaries or whatever it might be, and they can use Social Security to fund that, so they're really not out anything if they don't need the money.
Yeah.
It's kind of like President Trump, who works for $1 a year and now is president.
Yeah.
He's waived his salary because he doesn't need it. Well, that's not the case for a lot of us. Sometimes we can use the money, but in regards to Social Security, a lot of times they don't need that, and we can use that for some long-term tax planning strategies as well. Yeah,
so that's there's all kinds of different formulations depending what people need.
Yeah, it was nice to get a little bit of a bump this year, and 2.8% is you're not going to get wealthy off of that, but every little bit helps for those people that are on fixed incomes and don't have the opportunity to get any additional income coming in.
Yeah. Quick question. What about Medicare? Does that mean there is an increase in Medicare? In other words, I guess I could put it another way. is there a decrease of 2.8% in what you may pay out for Medicare?
No.
How do they formulate? Because obviously, that also means that health costs are going up.
Your Medicare payments will probably increase. They always do, because Medicare's always adjusting the contributions that we have to make. I don't know that it's going to be a 2.8% increase, because they usually try to take into account the medical inflation.
Right.
Well, I know medical inflation is more than 2.8%.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's going to come in that next year for Medicare. So, and it all comes down to doing proper planning. I mean, I had a couple come in yesterday, and I've been trying to work with them for about 3 years. They've never kind of pulled the trigger. Well, yesterday they realized, we need to make the move so we can get better than a 0.1% on my savings account, and type of thing. So,
we have talked about the increase of interest rates, and that has already happened, right?
Yeah, that happened in September. When the Fed met, and they're anticipating another maybe 0.25% in December. I don't know whether or not that's going to happen, but with the economy going the way that it's going, and job unemployment is way down. Job opportunities, new job openings are up. So the economy is rolling on pretty well, and the Feds are trying to make sure that we don't get into an inflationary situation. So they're trying to, tamper that down a little bit by raising interest rates a little bit. But, whether or not that'll happen, I don't know. The stock market, we had a fun ride last week. It was a real roller coaster ride for a couple of days, and then earlier this week, it went back up 500 points. And so, hold on. It's people got real nervous there for a couple of days when it went down 800 points and then another 500. But that's the market. That's not the correction we're going to be talking about. We had the same correction in January.
I remember that.
And it went down about 1,500 points. And these are just little blips in the market. There's going to be a correction. I don't know when, but if I did, I wouldn't be here today, and I'd be in the Bahamas somewhere.
Well, I remember, just like you did, if the day, years ago, if it went down 500 points, boy. That would have been the end of the end.
Well,
but, nowadays, it's like.
In 1987, I used this in my seminar. In 1987, the market went down almost 25% in one day. If you did that in today's dollars, that would be 6,000 points.
Right.
So, in one day in 1987, it went down 25%. If that happened today, it'd go down 6,000 points. We got nervous at 800. So, that kind of.
And it didn't take long for it to come back up again. That seems to be the difference, at least right now.
From 2008, it went from 14,000 down to 6,600. Took about 7 years to get back to where it was. So, depending upon the size of the drop will depend upon how much, it takes to recover. So.
All right, Dan, good to have you on today.
Good to see you.
If you want to get a hold of Dan, give him a call at 949-859 8900. I have it right there. I didn't remember at the top of my head, but there it is. SterlingFA.com. He does seminars, and he will always meet with you to see if he can help you out.
There's a complimentary meeting if they'd ever like to come in and chat. No charge.
All right. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Have a good day. I couldn't remember.